Matt, I have a really important event until 9:30. It's a virtual event. You send them.
Hello.
Good morning. I don't know what happened, but I was able to log in to the info account. I hope Rachel's okay. So we have 69 people in the waiting room.
Okay. I'm trying to find my CSW background.
Should we let them in now? Or do you want to find your background first?
I don't know if I'm going to find it. So it might take a minute, and that's okay.
Rosemary, you're muted.
I'm sorry, Brenda from UN Women is in the waiting room. Can you let her in at least? She was emailing me a little anxious about not being able to join.
What is her last name?
Brenda Bakwasega, which reminds me, Lily, pronounce your last name for me.
Simana, the NK is kind of like an H.
No, Brenda. Okay.
Good morning, Brenda.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can't see you though.
There.
There you are.
Good morning, Brenda.
Morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Hello. Hi, Brenda. How are you?
I'm
Nice to
fine.
meet you.
Brenda, pronounce your last name for us again. I remember you did it last year. Sorry to ask you again.
Requestiga.
Bequesca.
Requestiga, correct.
Bequesca.
Yeah.
So should we let them on?
Sure, it's 8:03.
Good afternoon. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We're getting ready to get started.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, greetings.
Greetings.
Morning.
Good afternoon.
Good night.
Morning, everyone. Morning.
Morning and good evening.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon. Greetings, everyone. We're just waiting for everyone to come in to get started.
Hi, Pamela.
Hello, good to see you.
Good morning. While we're waiting, could I ask if anybody else is having trouble getting in to approve registrations for CSW 69?
Registrations, I'm not sure.
Well, I thought there's a large group here. If other people are having the same problem I'm having, we could confer.
Hello,
In chat,
everybody.
actually.
I did it. Yeah, I registered and I received confirmation. So it seems that no, there isn't any issue in my side.
Thank
So I
you.
registered. Yeah, I received confirmation. Yeah.
I'd like to ask a question actually, because I have not sent yet the proposal. I'm finishing it, but I'd like to know if there is still time for parallel events in person to send of the spots are already all taken.
All of those questions are going to be responded to during the open forum. So
Okay.
questions, and Rosemary and Lily are going to get started.
Thank you.
And if Rachel's on, if you can pull up the PowerPoint, I mean the Canva deck.
I'm sorry, is someone else going to be able to do the polls if I'm doing the deck?
I can do
Is-
the deck, Rachel, because I think it might be better for you to do the polls. So if you want, I can share the deck.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so just give me a second.
Everyone. I think the sun is right in my face, but anyway, I hope everyone's doing well. Okay.
Just figure out how to share the deck in a way that's in the full view.
It's fantastic to see so many people with us today. And we're really excited about the information that's going to be shared. So thank you. And while we're waiting, please put your greetings in the chat and where you're calling from, where you're joining from.
So it says that screen sharing is paused. I don't know if you're able to see what I'm sharing with you.
No, not yet.
Okay. Is it maybe on the host end where the screen sharing can be fixed?
Okay, I will also try to get in.
Okay,
Helps. Okay, yeah.
Only on my screen, it says that you've started sharing.
Okay. And then can you see what I'm sharing though?
No.
It says double click to enter full screen mode.
So I'll stop because I'm not sure.
Okay, why don't we let Rachel share, and then we can do the polls orally. But I think that we need to start. So Rachel, can you please share the Canva deck?
Okay, I just won't be able to do links in the chat then as well.
That's fine. That's
Okay.
fine.
Can everyone see this?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, great.
All right, I'll start us off. I'm Rosemary Barbaret. I represent the International Sociological Association at the UN, and it's my second year as a member of the Executive Committee of NGO CSW. In this time period, I've come to realize how much we do with very little, and I know a lot of you attending today do the same. Around the globe, times are tough. They're tough for women and girls in particular. And so we want all of us to keep a positive outlook, to care for others, to care for ourselves, to continue in the work that we do the way women before us did. And today's open forum is about celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, and giving you an introduction for those of you who are newcomers and those of you who may not be to the NGO CSW Forum that will take place in March alongside the Commission on the Status of Women's annual session. So we have asked you to introduce yourselves in the chat, and we see you from all around the globe. We will be giving a lot of information today, but please relax. The session will be recorded, and it will be available on the NGO CSW YouTube channel, and we also have plenty of time for Q&A at the end. The purpose of the open forum is not to wait until before March to tell you what will be happening alongside the CSW and at the CSW, but to give you some idea of the build up for these events, what is at stake this year, what the procedures are, and how you from your corner of the globe, or if you are coming to New York, can participate and make the best out of this opportunity for advocacy. So now I believe we have 2 polls asking you a bit about yourselves. Are we able to launch those? So first, we're eager to hear where you're working.
Rosemary, why don't we just do a show of hands? Because I don't
Okay.
think the polls are.
Global processes. Oh, here comes the poll.
Okay.
Where are you working? And we'll have the results for that shortly. hopefully everybody's weighed in. And there we go. So many people working at the global level, then national level, and then pretty much divided among regional, local, and other spaces. Okay, and the next poll is about whether this is your first time attending the CSW or the NGO CSW Forum, or whether you have been here before. If we can go to the next slide. And let's see our results shortly. We always have plenty of newcomers. And we like to see newcomers along with old timers. Okay, so almost 40% newcomers, excellent. And then plenty of old timers. 38% 2 to 4 times, 11% 5 to 10 times, and 14% more than 10 times. And we will be asking at the end how many of you were actually in Beijing in 1995. So to give you some idea of what we will be looking at today, we're going to have a welcome, first of all, from our co-chairs, Pamela Morgan and Ivy Cook, updates from UN Women, an overview of the CSW, an overview of the NGO CSW Forum with a clear distinction made between those two. Some news from the virtual portal, Whova, that we'll be using this year. Then some news from our advocacy and research group. And finally, the youth leaders and young professionals will tell you what is up in their camp. And finally, we'll have Q&A. So now I'd like to pass the floor to Pamela Morgan and Ivy Cook, the co-chairs of NGO CSW New York.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Wow. I was filling out the poll and I couldn't believe that I clicked more than 10 times. It's actually my 12th CSW. I can't believe it. So I should be a pro now, right? Like I still feel like a newbie. But anyway, Rosemary and Lily worked so hard to prepare this wonderful presentation, open forum for all of you, and happy to be here. And yeah, that's it. We're supposed to just do a welcome, so I'm not talking any more than this. I'll pass it on to Pamela.
Good day, greetings. We are so excited to have you here for this CSW69 Open Forum. When we first started the Open Forum, it was with the thought that people came to New York and really didn't understand the depth of CSW. They thought it was just a series of workshops. And now we have this wonderful event this year hosted by Lily and Rosemary. And we know that you are going to leave here really understanding what to prepare for March, how to prepare for March. And we will look forward to seeing as many of you as possible during your time here, either online or in New York. Thank you. I'll turn it back to Rosemary and Lily.
Okay. Next, we have updates from UN Women. Brenda Bukwega is joining us today, and she will give you full updates from UN Women.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll say my name. My name is Brenda Bukwesiga. My name is Brenda Bukwesiga. I work with the Civil Society Division. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're connecting. I'm going to try and be brief. I have, how long do I have? 5 minutes. I hope I can give you enough information, perhaps not too much information, but welcome to those of you who are coming for the very first time. I think the number was 37% and 38 for 2 to 4, those of you who've been 2 to 4 times. I am the Communications Advocacy and Outreach Analyst at the Civil Society Division team at UN Women. And today I shall guide you through what you can expect at the upcoming 69th session of the Commission on the Status of Women, or as we call it, CSW69. The session is special because it marks the 30th year review, as you know, of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, which we also call Beijing Plus 30. So I will provide you with an overview of CSW. I'm going to discuss the importance of this milestone and also share with you some of the key documents that are going to be shaping the session, and how yourselves, the CSOs and NGOs can participate. So let's dig in. Just a short background on the importance of CSW for those of you who do not know. The CSW is the UN's primary body. It focuses on advancing gender equality and empowerment of women, and it convenes every year, annually. It brings together representatives from governments, the UN, civil society, to assess progress, set standards, and recommend policies for gender equality. CSW69 will be especially significant because of its focus on reviewing the global process towards the commitment that were made in Beijing 30 years ago, otherwise known as the Beijing Platform for Action. One of the unique aspects of CSW69 and the significance of Beijing Plus 30 is how it will assess how far we've come since 1995. 1995's Beijing Declaration. This was something that set a powerful agenda across 12 critical areas, from poverty to women in decision-making. And it will look at all the achievements, the persisting challenges, and some of the new issues to tackle. Key documents for CSW69. Important to note are the two documents that will shape CSW69. The first one is the political declaration. This is a concise, high-level statement by governments, by member states, reaffirming gender equality commitments and setting future actions for the Beijing Platform for Action, as well as the SDGs. The second report is going to be the synthesis report. This is compiled by UN Women, and it evaluates progress and challenges based on national and regional reviews, providing evidence-based insights for CSW69. In short, the political declaration focuses on future actions, while you can say the synthesis report analyzes past and current progress. NGOs with ECOSOC accreditation can participate in CSW 69 in several ways. They have to, however, be registered through the UN's Indico system, and the deadline for that is January 24th, 2025. I think I heard some people mention that they were having difficulties in registering. I'm not so sure, but there are details on this on UN Women's website. And also, you should be able to have some information on who to contact if you're having difficulties in registering. Other participation options include written statements, limited slots for oral statements, and opportunities for brief interventions in what we call interactive dialogues. And the sign up for this opens in January. I don't believe we have any information on this right now, but around the beginning of January of 2025, you should have some instructions on the deadlines for the oral statements and interventions. Some other things to note is civil society organizations also have an essential role in contributing to what we call shadow reports. These are reports that offer alternative perspectives on the country's progress in implementing Beijing Platform. They often highlight gaps or challenges that are overlooked in the official national reports that are submitted by national governments. To contribute effectively, partner with other organizations, collect robust data, and structure the report to reflect the themes of Beijing Platform. National reports typically align with the government's national report timeline. So the Beijing Plus 30 reports would be due. I think they've passed. They were due, I believe, June 1st or early June of this year in most cases. Regional shadow reports also should align with the respective UN regional review deadlines. I'm going through this very quickly, but a lot of this information, all this information actually is on UN Women's website, so you can take a look at that and understand a little bit more specifically some of these processes. What to expect and how to prepare. For newcomers, I would really advise that you familiarize yourself with the agenda. The agenda will be posted up on our website. I would recommend you join civil society briefings just to learn as much as you can, not only from those who are giving you briefings, but also from other people who have been attending CSW for many years and are veterans, so to speak, and connect with other NGOs to build a collaborative advocacy approach. And you'll have multiple opportunities to do that, not only at the UN, but also official events at the UN, but also at parallel events as well. So being prepared will help you make the most of the experience, I would say. In conclusion, since I'm cognizant of time, CSW69 really represents a pivotal moment to celebrate progress on gender equality, address the areas where progress has stalled. As civil society advocates, your voices are so essential to making CSW impactful. Yes, there have been frustrations. There have been a lot of claims of, and legitimate ones, of shrinking of democratic spaces, but your voices are absolutely critical in pushing the agenda. So I would say bring your insights, join the discussion, advocate for policies that will advance gender equality globally, and good luck.
Thank you, Brenda, for that very informative session, and I apologize for butchering the last name.
No problem.
Next, we will hear from my colleague, Lily Hunzimana, who will give a full overview and background to the CSW and NGO CSW Forum.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. And I will go through, maybe if we can go to the next, wonderful, there we go. So I would just go through some key achievements of the Commission on the Status of Women. It's by no means a full overview, but it's really just meant to give you a bit of history and background to where the Commission has come from, some of the major achievements that have been noted. And of course, it's always wonderful if people are able to continue their own research and learn and use the opportunities available during the Commission on the Status of Women to share the history of this important UN body. So we'll go to the very beginning of UN history, actually, to remember that the commission wasn't always a commission. CSW actually started as a subcommission that was dedicated to the status of women. It was established under the Commission on Human Rights. But in 1946, 21st of June, 1946, the subcommission formally became a commission on the status of women, and it was given a mandate to prepare recommendations and reports to the Economic and Social Council on promoting women's rights in political, economic, civil, social, and educational fields. The commission was also asked to make recommendations on urgent problems requiring immediate attention in the field of women's rights. Since then, the commission has worked to set international standards to establish the rights of women. So for example, after extensive debates and taking into account that in the very early history of the UN, in 1950, it was noted that only 22, it was noted that at the time, 22 countries still did not allow women the right to hold political office or to vote. And in the countries where this was the law was actually not put into practice. So as a result, the UN General Assembly passed the Convention on the Political Rights of Women in 1952. And this was the first international law instrument to recognize and protect the political rights of women everywhere by spelling out that women on an equal basis with men were entitled to vote in any election, run for election to any office, and hold any public office or exercise any public function under national law. The Commission has also been a place where key international instruments have passed on different issues. For example, in addressing discrimination in marriage, there were measures that were represented on the first international agreements on women's rights in relation to marriage to remove discrimination in this social institution. This was noted because frequently, due to the differences in national laws on family residence, marriage, and divorce, it was recognized that such an instrument was needed. In terms of economic rights, the Commission worked with the International Labour Organization. In 1951, this collaboration with the ILO led to the Convention on Equal Remuneration for Men and Women Workers for work of equal value, and this enshrined the principle of equal pay for work of equal value. And of course, this conversation has continued over time. The Commission has also worked on enshrining the rights of women in law. The General Assembly requested the Commission in 1963 to draft a declaration on the elimination of discrimination against women, and this declaration worked to consolidate the standards on women's rights that had been developed since 1945. So since the agenda of women's rights was brought to international attention, and this declaration, in this declaration, it was stated that in various fields, there still remains, in fact, if not in law, considerable discrimination against women. The drafting of this declaration began in 1965, and then on the 7th of November 1967, it was adopted by the General Assembly. This was a landmark achievement in securing the legal foundation of women's equality. However, the impact on the ground was limited due to the fact that the reporting was voluntary and the response from governments was quite low. It was then clear that there was a need for a legally binding convention to define women's rights. And it was in 1979 that the General Assembly adopted the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which is now known as CEDAW. CEDAW grew out of the perception that attempts to implement the declaration had been limited. And this was also one of the major achievements for the Decade of Women, which ran from 1976 until 1985. And CEDAW came into force on the 3rd of September, 1981. And some of you may know that CEDAW is kept current in terms of upcoming themes and issues of concern that are incorporated through the Committee on CEDAW's the general recommendations that are given out by the Committee on CEDAW, which include issues such as violence against women and other concerns. Just moving a little bit forward in history, in the late 1980s and early 1990s, the Commission, the CEDAW Committee, and eventually the Commission on Human Rights brought the issue of violence against women to the fore. This ensured that violence against women was brought to the forefront of the international agenda. Previously, violence against women had been considered a private matter rather than a public or human rights issue. So the Commission undertook the drafting of the Declaration for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. This was in the early 1990s, and the declaration was adopted by the General Assembly on the 20th of December in 1993. So we're now moving forward to 1994, where a special rapporteur on violence against women, its causes and consequences was appointed, and this mechanism was given the mandate to investigate and report on all aspects of violence against women. Now we're going to 1995. In 1995 was, of course, the famous Conference on Women, which was the 4th World Conference of Women. This remains to be one of the greatest achievements of the Commission on the Status of Women. And I'll just give you a few notable aspects of this conference. There were 5 regional preparatory meetings in 1994, as well as several NGO meetings in preparation for this conference. 170 country reports were submitted to the Commission, and this, of course, informed the platform for action. And the outcome of this conference, which was the Beijing Declaration and the Platform for Action, were adopted unanimously by 189 countries. This consolidated 5 decades of legal advances fighting for the equality of women. It was aimed at securing the equality of women with men in law and in practice. This was one of the largest gatherings of government, NGO, and media representatives ever held by a UN conference. There were staggering numbers of individuals present, 6,000 delegates from 189 governments, 4,000 accredited NGO representatives, and 4,000 journalists were present. And it was really evidence that the international women's movement had developed a strategic approach to influencing the international agenda. Fast forwarding to 2010, of course, throughout all of this, different agencies and instruments have been developed within the UN system to address issues of women's rights. And as part of the effort to strengthen coherence and coordination within the UN system by the Secretary General at the time, women advocates urged the SG to also address how the women's rights agenda within the UN was spread across a number of agencies, principally 4 different agencies. So it was throughout this process that began in 2006 and ended in 2010 that we then had UN Women, which was, of course, the bringing together of all these agencies. Just a few other things to note. Of course, we have since then, member states have been really thinking about how to bring to the fore issues of international development. If we can ask people to mute, please. I promise I'm almost done. I won't be talking for much longer. So just a few other things to note. In 2015, member states came together to rethink about a consolidated international development agenda. So this culminated in the Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, as we all know, SDG 5, which looks at issues concerning gender equality as part of that global agenda. And then this brings us to where we are now, where we're looking at the past 30 years of trying to implement the Beijing Declaration. And so that brings us to next year, where we'll be looking at the review. And you'll notice on this slide, there are a few stars which indicate moments when the Beijing Platform for Action has been under review. And this year actually marks the 3rd review that will be taking place under the coordination of UN Women, which was formed in 2010. So I think we can just go to the next slide, which provides a little bit of information on this year's, the upcoming CSW. So as was mentioned by Brenda, it's a little bit different in that we don't have necessarily one specific area of concern that will be reviewed. We'll actually be looking at the Beijing Platform for Action as a whole. And then we can go to the next slide as well. So as part of reviewing the Beijing Platform for Action this year, UN Women has outlined a few areas of focus, looking at how to foster more equality and a more just and secure world, looking at issues of resourcing, of impact, and how to galvanize the efforts of civil society to input into this whole process. So I know that was a lot of information. As was mentioned, this is being recorded, and so you can go back and review it. But hopefully that gives kind of an overview of where we have come from, where we are today, and some of the key issues that will be reviewed next year in March of 2025. So that's it for me. So we'll now be launching a poll just to see if who's present. We want to know who was at the 1995 forum, the 1995 Conference on Women, excuse me. So it looks like 5% of those present were at Beijing. It'll be wonderful to know who those individuals are, actually, just for the sake of, being able to pass down this history and understanding the importance of Beijing. I think it's really important for us to listen to one another and kind of hear those experiences from those who have come before us and who were who were at these seminal moments when history was made. So thank you so much for filling that poll. So 5% were present and a majority of us were not there. Some of us may have been very young at the time. And I think we might have another poll after this as well. No, actually, I think we'd give it back to the co-chairs to talk to us about NGO CSW and the NGO CSW forum and the CSW.
Thank
So
you, Lily. I think, was there going to be, oh, okay. Pop quiz at some point. I think, get ready. I hope you're all paying attention. There will be a test. No, but so I'm here to talk to you about the difference between, and this is something we cannot repeat enough. It's the NGO CSW, which is us, the committee, with the NGO Committee on the Status of Women in New York, who is mandated to facilitate a space, a platform for the voices and leadership of all of you in the official UN CSW processes. And we organize this NGO CSW Forum, which is running in parallel as during those 2 weeks that the official commission is meeting within the headquarters. So again, this is a civil society gathering, a forum, NGO forum, that the committee, NGO CSW, puts together. We are not the secretariat, as Brenda had shared. UN Women is actually the secretariat of the commission itself. And so when people start to ask about like ECOSOC badge and, you know, how do I get accredited to get in and the Indigo and all that, those are not questions that come to us, the committee, but to UN Women. The big difference and the reason why it's important to distinguish the two is because many of you are interested in applying for events. And a lot of times in other spaces, we call everything side events. Well, in the CSW, we have so many events. We have side events inside the UN, and then we have these events outside, which we call the parallel events. Parallel, again, because they're happening at the same time as the official commission, but it is outside the UN and various venues, one of which is the building we're in, actually, which is the Church Center across the street from the UN headquarters. And if you've never been here to New York, this is not a very big space. So I mean, the UN literally is on, you know, First Avenue where the river is, and then, you know, this building, the Church Center, is across from it. And then we have another facility at the Salvation Army, which is about a 10-minute walk from here. So that's the big, the distinction we have to say over and over. Again, we are not the official commission. We are not the UN, but we do facilitate space, the parallel events. All of these trainings and things are coming from the NGO CSW. I like to remind everyone that over, you know, the majority of us, 95% or so, are volunteers. We only have one paid staff. So, so yes, we really appreciate your patience and support throughout. We do the best we can, again, with the time that we have. And we can do it because we're so passionate about this work, and we know that it's so important to offer this space for all of you to participate. The big difference also of the NGO CSW forum is that you do not have to have any type of accreditation whatsoever. It's open and free to the public. And a word of warning, there's so many scams, out there we're seeing online. I just wanted to warn, if somebody's asking you to pay to attend a UN conference or CSW, it's definitely, please, ignore any of those types of it's always free. It should be free. So the civil society's gathering, okay, parallel. We organize it, the committee, and we host virtual and in-person parallel events. You should have seen already announcement about that. The in-person events are first come this year, and they close on the 25th of the month, or as soon as all the rooms fill up. So it could be extended or shortened depending on if those are filled in. The recommendations that we prepare for CSW, again, this is a review year, so we will not be putting together key recommendations on a specific priority theme because we're covering the full Beijing platform. But when we do, we usually have key, like about, up to 5 key recommendations that we gather, and that's done with the advocacy and research group who's going to present a little bit later. And Liv was asking how to join, so I'm sure they will answer those questions. And then the CSW is the official commission happening at the UN headquarters. This is an intergovernmental process, and it's the secretary is UN Women, and side events are hosted. Side events cannot be applied for by civil society. Side events are done, member states and UN only can host a side event. Now, that doesn't mean civil society and NGOs aren't involved. They can probably be a co-sponsor, but that's up to each member state, UN agency that organizes the event. We have nothing to do with this, I repeat. The outcome document that's negotiated, again, that intergovernmental document is done within among member states, and ECOSOC accredited NGOs are the only ones that are allowed in UN premises. And you do that through the Indigo system, which is online, and there are deadlines, and you have to, we try as best as possible to alert you of that. And please keep looking out in your emails, for those types of announcements. And I believe this is all I am to share. This is the pop quiz. So CSW side events are organized by member states and UN agencies. Is this true or false? And we will have, I think, an answer soon. Oh. My screen popped up again, but I didn't see the summary. Did anyone see the summary part? Oh.
So Ivy, the summary is that 89% said true and 11% said false.
Okay, great. So this is a true statement, or if we want to be really detailed, it may not always be in the UN premises. So it's a little bit of a tricky question in that sense, because member states also hold their side events, in missions and other venues as well, but predominantly side events. And I think Rosa had mentioned something that's been maybe to remember, side events are inside the UN. So maybe that's a good way to remember that, side events are inside and we are outside. So we are a parallel event. Okay. Is there one other question? Yes. Okay. And parallel events. So this is the other question. I don't see the answers. So if anyone sees it, and I think then my part is done, I hand it over back to Rosemary or Lily. Is that right? Thank you.
So the results I see are that 94% got this question right. Parallel events are organized by civil society organizations and held outside UN premises. And could we have the next slide, please, for Lily to give an overview of the forum?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rosemary, and thank you, Ivy. It's nice having all the pub quizzes in there to keep us on task. So the co-chairs have already explained about like the difference between the official CSW, which predominantly happens within the UN. Of course, sometimes events do happen outside of the UN, but really that those events are kind of the official ongoing sessions of the commission. But then, of course, there's this whole other side, a parallel aspect of CSW that's organized by NGO CSW New York. And that also has a forum that provides an opportunity for members of civil society to interact with each other in different ways, whether it's, let's say individuals want to come and show their wares in terms of arts and different crafts that people want to bring to New York. It's an opportunity to be able to do that. It's an opportunity to be able to engage in substantive conversations through the conversation circles. And a number of other things are listed here on the slide. So really, this is just to give you an idea of the various ways that one can engage. I think one of the beautiful aspects of CSW is that there's so many points of contact where one can expand one's network and also find different ways of being able to share points of advocacy. So I'll just share here on this slide a few deadlines to keep in mind while we're all preparing to engage in the CSW. So one important deadline to remember is if you would like to place any kind of ads in the handbook. So NGO CSW is going to prepare a handbook that has all the key information regarding CSW. The deadline to place ads in that handbook is February 26th. And so there were also some questions that were asked earlier about parallel events and when is the application deadline for that. So there are two different deadlines for the parallel events that are organized by civil society through the NGO CSW Forum. So one is the deadline for the in-person events, and that deadline is November 25th. So that's coming up shortly. So make sure that if you are going to be holding an in-person event, you get by then. And then the other deadline to keep in mind is for the virtual parallel event. So if you're going to be holding an event online, the deadline for that is a little bit later. It's December 2nd. In terms of applying to be part of the Artisan Fair, the Artisan Fair is really wonderful. I know people who have attended CSW have gone to that in the past. I certainly visited earlier this year when we had the fair, and it was really wonderful just to see all the beautiful things that people bring to the CSW, maybe engage in a little bit retail therapy that might be needed during the commission when there's so much going on. But it will be really lovely for those of you who are thinking to participate, and the deadline to indicate that you would like to participate in the fair is the 6th of January. Maybe just a few other things to outline. It was also mentioned earlier during the presentation by Brenda about the civil society briefings. These are moments when you can hear briefings from bureau members and also, of course, from civil society about the ongoings of the commission. Typically, in the past, these briefings have taken place in the morning. However, as many of you might know, the UN has been going through financial crunch. And so last year, the timings of those briefings was changed. This year, in 2025, we don't know what the situation will be, but we do encourage you just to stay in tune with us, and we will let you know what the format of those briefings will be, but they will be happening. We're just not quite sure whether they'll be in the morning or later on in the day. And then another feature maybe to highlight about the NGO CSW Forum is the healing space. And so this is an opportunity for people to find a moment of quiet and just maybe a moment to meditate during the CSW, which, as I mentioned, I think many of you who have attended before can be a quite busy time. And so the NGO CSW will be holding a healing space in partnership with some organizations that are part of the civil society community. And we really encourage you to be able to check that out, as I think it can allow us to be able to participate more fully and be more present during this very busy time. So that's it on my end in terms of just key things to keep an eye on during the forum. Back to you, Rosemary.
Okay, over to Rachel to introduce John Santiago from Whova.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. I'm going to introduce to you all now John Santiago. He is helping us with getting our virtual platform together. He's been an amazing help, and he's going to do a bit of a demo for you all so you can see what to expect, how to use the platform, how to navigate, and all of that good stuff. So I will hand it over to John.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and good morning, everybody. My name is John Santiago, and we here at Whova have the great pleasure of partnering with the committee of NGO CSW to help elevate your guys' overall event experience. With Whova, you will start off with an easy and simple online registration process to where thereafter you will have access to an online portal, what we call our mobile and web app. In this online portal, you'll have access to all parallel events and its information. And for remote attendees who are unable to attend the event in person, you will be able to stream the events if the parallel organizers are providing a live stream. Oh, my sound is very low. I'll speak a little louder. If you do not get a chance to also visit the vendors or sponsors in person, you'll be able to visit their online booths on the online portal as well. And in addition to all of this, you'll be able to access and download any information, PDF, or resource made accessible by the organizers. Now I'll be giving everyone a brief showcase of what you could expect with the online portal. I'll just be briefly sharing my screen, and I'll be showcasing the online portal of the web version first. So over here, obviously this says Whova conference, but let's just all pretend that this says NGO CSW69. But as an attendee, this is what you could expect with Whova. As you can see, we have our homepage in which all basic information in regards to the event will be taking place. And over here on the agenda, this is where all the events / parallel events and or activities will be listed out. For any parallel events with a live stream, the live stream will also be over here, and you could simply click inside any of the sessions to view that live stream if it is added in. In regards to all of this, you will also be able to view all the other attendees attending the event and have the opportunity to view their profile and or send them a DM for further networking. And we also have a community forum similar to like a Reddit style forum in which all attendees are able to put in discussion topics, questions, meetups, social groups, and all that cool stuff. And also a place for you guys to upload and hold any of your photos that you take there at the event. And in regards to the vendors and sponsors, this is where you will have the opportunity to network with them directly, visit their booth. If they have any, promotions, giveaways, and all that stuff, you'll be able to view them here as well. And in regards to other resources, this is where you could find all the resources that either the committee presents and or parallel organizers put in. So we have documents over here that you could easily view and download, a floor map of the overall venue, logistics, and polls. So this is a basic and brief overview of what you guys could expect with the web version of the online portal. Now I'm going to be briefly showcasing what you guys can expect with the mobile app. I'm just going to be joining from my phone. All right, can everybody hear me? Sorry, I'm on my phone, so my screen is a little bit smaller than what everybody else is seeing.
We can hear you, John.
Okay, cool. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
I can see his screen.
Now, yes. Now, yeah. Oh,
Okay,
yes, the screen is.
cool. All right. So over here is the mobile version of the online portal, and similar to the web app version, it's just a little bit more condensed this way. Similar to the web version, you will have all your resources over here. Again, we have our floor map, any logistics put up by the event organizers, our agenda, again, filled with any and all of the parallel events and or activities. And this one has a video, so let's go ahead and take a look at this one, live stream. So if you click on live stream, you'll be able to watch it on your mobile device. A list of the attendees, again, with the same features that we saw in the web version. If I were to click on one of them, I could DM them, do a private meetup. We have our community board over here, where again, I could add in a discussion topic and or any other thing that I would like to discuss with any and all other attendees. And a section for our DMs. All right, I'm gonna switch back to my desktop, but that's essentially what you guys could expect with the online portal from the online and web version. And I think that's all I have for my section.
Thank you so much, John. We really appreciate this walkthrough. And for anybody who missed any of those details, this is being recorded and will be posted to YouTube. We will also host more platform-specific trainings closer to the forum. So not to worry, we will go more in depth into how to use the platform as an attendee and as an organizer if you're organizing a parallel event. And as some of you are seeing in the chat, yes, John did get up very early to join us. Thank you so much, John. We really appreciate you. I'm going to introduce Rosa, who will take us through. She is our vice chair, and she will take us through some of the advocacy and research group updates.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you all for being here. That was a lot of information. So maybe we just want to take one deep breath and picture ourselves on that nice beach or that, coast that John showed, just to kind of regroup, because I'm going to be delivering more information to you. So thanks again. I'm Rosa Lizardi with the Feminist Task Force, also the vice chair. And I serve on this committee, the Advocacy and Research Group, with my NGO CSW Executive Committee colleagues, Fotini Papagiotti, and you've met Rosemary already, who's doing a great job with this forum. So I'm just going to tell you very quickly what the Advocacy and Research Group does, and then go into what we've been doing. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. So basically, the ARG develops an advocacy plan for the CSW. We provide input into the zero draft of the priority theme for that CSW. We research the CSW priority theme and the review theme. We provide documentation and we develop recommendations based on these priorities. We've been doing it for the past 5-6 years. And then we create digestible briefs with the recommendations, which we provide to the CSW Bureau. Many times we are meeting with them in person to deliver these recommendations. And then we also send to the CSW members of the commission, and then we distribute to all of the member states in the UN. And we also provide to our UN colleagues at UN Women, and Brenda, just to say you were awesome. Thanks for all that information. This year, it's a little different because, as Brenda was saying, we have this review. We have Beijing plus 30. And so to research and develop briefs, develop recommendations for 12 critical areas plus, and really, these areas, they've evolved so much over the past 30 years. And many groups are already doing that in their specialized areas. So what we are focusing on, and we've already started on this, is on CSW revitalization. And that this theme has come up not only within the CSW area, but it also came up in the Summit of the Future. And now in the Pact of the Future, we have paragraph 43D, which calls for the revitalization of the Commission on the Status of Women within the area of reform of the Economic and Social Council and looking at global governance reforms at the UN. So what the NGO CSW has done, and you may have participated in this, those that were not part of the 38% that were new to this process, we developed a survey that we sent out. We've received 600 responses that revealed overwhelmingly that civil society organizations found that the Commission on the Status of Women was a crucial and effective space for advancing gender equality, and that the evolution of a hybrid CSW, the combination that we did because of COVID, has vastly improved inclusion and relevance. And it also highlighted 3 areas which we're highlighting here. Now, there's a lot to these areas, but just to highlight, a couple of points. One is on accountability and increasing the accountability of the CSW stakeholders, the governments, the UN organizations, the regional commissions, the civil society organizations, CSOs, and establishing concrete and resource mechanisms for local preparation and follow-up processes to ensure more active and strategic engagement from civil society organizations. And that's exactly what we've been saying for years. So that's what we found. And we developed these points into a CSW statement that we submitted. And I hope that my colleagues can have the link there for people to look at this more closely. The second point was on inclusion, and we called for inclusion of diverse constituencies within the context also of reforming the process for ECOSOC accreditation. That's very familiar to you all, making it more transparent, expeditious, creating more pathways for participation of NGOs, and investing more in publicizing the existence, the agenda, and the outcomes of the Commission on the Status of Women. And the third point was on efficacy and enhancing the effectiveness and relevance of the CSW in a variety of ways, providing regular global overview of discriminatory laws and practices against women and girls and all their diversity, and overwhelming support for having a regular annual review of this issue, discriminatory laws and practices, similar to the universal peer review process. So this is the work that we've been doing. There was a question in the chat whether the ARG is open for new members. We've been doing this work. We usually bring on new people in the summer, And what we did, because we're focused so much on CSW revitalization, we did some selective requests to people who've been involved in these processes for a while. So we do have a set group. I know that there was a couple of people who've asked before, and I apologize that that might have just kind of, gotten lost in the email black hole. But I've taken your names and I will be in touch. But we are closed for now for new members. But if you're interested in CSW revitalization, we will be having more information out. As you know, this is not just a process for the CSW, but it will go on and continue. So there will be opportunities. Please look out for it. And we will put links, because I know my time is up. We'll put links in the chat for you to get more full information on this. Thank you, colleagues, and back to Rosemary, Lily, Rachel, one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosa. Next, I'm going to go into the Youth Leaders and Young Professionals program that NGO CSW New York has. The Youth Leaders and Young Professionals are a community of young people who are passionate about global gender equality and looking to engage in UN processes, and especially the CSW, of course. So we are a community of a little over 2,000 young people, and there will be a QR code for you to join the mailing list. But we are currently thinking about ways that we can kind of reinvigorate this community and bring it back into the fold. So please stay tuned for that. I'm gonna put my camera on. I don't know if you'll be able to see me since I am screen sharing. But the other thing we're really excited about is the Global Youth Fellows. And that has been a program for a little over a year. This year is our second cohort. And thanks to our partners at Women Have Wings, we are able to offer $1,000 grants to 15 young leaders from all over the world. And this year's cohort was selected from over 2,000 applicants. And anybody who was involved in that application selection process, you know how difficult this decision was. We have selected 15 amazing young leaders. Here they are. And you can read more about them at the link that you see there, ngocsw.org/global-youth-fellows. And it's also on our homepage when you go to our website. And yes, they're all incredible young people, young advocates. So please stay tuned for activities that they'll be participating in. They will be hosting a youth preparation series leading up to the CSW, and we're hoping to see some of them here in New York City in March. So if you'll be here, you might run into them around the CCUN. And yeah, so join our community, join our mailing list. That is where we will send out any and all correspondence about the YLYPs and the Global Youth Fellows. You can also follow our Instagram. And I hope to see some of you there. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass it over for Q&A back to Lily and Rosemary.
Okay, well, we have about 15 minutes left for Q&A. With 150 people, I would ask that you raise your hands. And Rachel, if you could stop sharing. And we're very grateful to have all the EC members and Brenda still with us to help answer these questions. Daria, go ahead.
Thank you so much. I'll be very quick. I wanted to know, this year I had the feeling, it was my first time at CSW, and I had the feeling there were such great debates and talks at the parallel events, but they, to my impression, had almost no connection to the events and debates taking place on the UN premises where the decision makers are. So I just wanted to know if you have any ideas how to better connect these two platforms, or how to take all those important messages and demands from the parallel events into the forum that is on the UN premises?
That's an excellent question. Does anybody want to handle that?
I mean, just one suggestion. You know, if you have access to the UN, you can go to all of the meetings and you can raise issues, and maybe Brenda, you want to come in. You know, there are certain sessions that they offer, you know, very short opportunities for intervention that you can, you know, raise your issue, raise your statement, you know, talk about your website. And then also just going to side events and being able to talk to people after they're done. They're coming down the corridor and you can approach them. I mean, that's just a couple of suggestions.
Yeah, no, I mean, Rosa, you've said exactly what I was going to say. I mean, it really, like I said in my presentation, it requires being a bit strategic, engaging, like you said, for those of you who have access to the UN. And, you know, look at the agenda that's going to be up online, just to see exactly where you can engage. For some of the events, you're going to have to get some sort of permissions or something like that, or they might be closed. But that's just one way of trying to bring in the issues from the parallel space onto the official space. But just, I mean, the reason it's set up that way, of course, is because, you know, the CSW is a member-driven event. So whatever is going on the UN premises is what has been governed and decided by member states. And so that's why it requires that anything that you speak about or discuss in the parallel event, the only way to bring it in, you can't bring it in officially, you know, but you have to bring it in unofficially through these, you know, methods of engaging and meeting anybody from the Capitol in the corridors or in the cafes or in the actual rooms themselves, where you have an opportunity to actually perhaps intervene.
I would also say that it's important, if you're organizing parallel events, to include member states and UN personnel on your panels to make the connection. And because the parallel events are held in the vicinity of the UN, very close to the UN, this is something that facilitates having them be part of your events, either as panelists or also as attendees. Artemis?
Thank you. I have several points to raise. The first one, I'm a cripple and you are not inclusive. It drives me hatters. I've been there for years. It's really a problem. I am in great pain. I can walk, but every step means pain. And so it would be great if I'm in the church center, if there was somewhere to sit before I have to go into a room. I understand that it's all very small. I mean, it's not a big building and the corridors are small. I realize that. But I keep muddling on. I think a lot of people, especially as much in pain as I am, have given up. And I think that's bad, because if you're inclusive, you're inclusive. And I'm an old hand. I was in 1980 already very influential in the conference in Copenhagen, really influential. So that's one. Two, what I don't like, and I know that it exacerbates the chaos that many people experience when at these side events and parallel events, is that the timing of both are different. If I have a 1.5 hour event at the side event, because the 2-hour events are at the church center, after, you know, the first few hours in the morning, everything is, you know, no longer balanced. It's very hard to be effective and to visit as many as you would want. I don't know what can be done about it, but it would be great if we could. What was wonderful this year is that there was an Excel spreadsheet with the parallel events, which I then sorted in something that would be more helpful, and I send that out. I would love to do the same, and I pledge with the Dutch groups that will be coming there, that we will pledge that we will do the side events in an Excel spreadsheet and then mix both of them, so that by time and place, you know what you can do at the same time, because that would really combat the chaos that people feel every year, even if you've been back for 10 years. I mean, this is one of the things I pledge that. If This is a big if. If you could get me, Artemis, and the Dutch NGOs beforehand this side event schedule, there's even an opportunity to make an app. You know how you go to conferences and they have an app, you look up where you want to go, etc. We could do that from the Netherlands. We actually have an app builder who's willing to do that. So, you know, I could make life for everyone easier if you give me a little heads up and a little help. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Would anybody like to address inclusivity and access as well as scheduling? I think we can certainly make an effort this year to have chairs outside the rooms in the church center, so that there is a waiting area. That is not that difficult. I know the elevators are slow, Artemis, but there are elevators in the church center that do even go to the basement. And as for scheduling, I believe that the Whova platform will provide a schedule.
Rosemary, I just want to jump in here for a minute because there are fire codes that really restrict what we're able to do in the church center. And we certainly do understand Artemis's concern. So we have to meet to see how we might be able to satisfy both. But thank you very much, Artemis, for bringing this up. And with the scheduling, I agree with Rosemary. I think that Whova you'll see that Whova is a platform that really does make it very simple to look at the schedule. Looking at what's happening in the world, we don't know what type of schedule the UN is going to have. So we're going to move forward with Whova and keep our fingers crossed that at some point we'll be able to synchronize. Thank you.
Just to add to that, because I just want to clarify, I think Artemis is mentioning the app, the Dutch app, because they are trying to help us in putting all the schedule together in one place, which we don't do currently because we're only in charge of the forum and the side events are on the website. And I do know that it's a challenge because you have to navigate between the two spaces and it's not in one place. And so, you know, people are doing it on their own to put it in a spreadsheet and all of that. I have the same question myself. So it's a challenge because, again, even organizing our forum events is a challenge. If we add another app, I don't know if that would add to the confusion. Yeah, so I have lots of questions around that as well. But I think what we can do is provide an Excel spreadsheet as we did before of the listing of all of our events as we have, to make it easier for those who do want to match, you know, the various schedules. And I don't know if UN Women also has just a spreadsheet of side events, which then it would make it easier for people who want to see the two. That's just a thought. I'm wondering if due to time, should we take like a cluster of questions, maybe 3 or so at a time?
Okay, sure, Paula.
You. Okay, so I have very specific questions. How can I register for the NGO CSW Forum? And then how can I access the online portal? And finally, if you know, I know that you are not organizing that, but is there a deadline for the side events? That's it, thank you.
Okay, Marlene.
Yes, thank you. My question is regarding the subject that I'd like to take to the parallel event. And if there is any way to talk to someone, because I'm debating to make it, it's a very rich and dense subject. It's about labor discrimination of women and mainly Black women in Brazil. And I'd like to know how to make this match the agenda to make it worth it to the parallel events. Yeah, it was basically this.
Okay, thank you. And Sanya?
Hi, I come from a transnational network to prevent, address, and reverse gender backsliding. We have organized a side event in Geneva. It was fabulous. And then we asked the organizer how to make sure that the outputs are incorporated in the synthesis report. We've been told to mainly focus on the communication side of it. So I'm wondering if you can help with that. And second question is, for a side event, we are a mix of civil society, human rights defenders, regional organization, and member states. How do we register? I'm finding it difficult to fit.
Okay, all right, let's tackle these questions, please.
If we're looking at portal registration, the portal will be open late December, and that is when you'll be able to register and look at the parallel events that have been uploaded to the portal. So we're using the Whova portal for parallel events. For side events, that is through the United Nations. And as Ivy said earlier, we have side events that are formal through the UN with member states, and we have parallel events. So we're looking at parallel events for the CSW, NGO CSW Forum. So that will happen in December.
And regarding Mylene's question of how to make Black women in Brazil fit as a subject in a parallel event, that was your question, Mylene?
And for that, Mylene, thank you for that really important question. And you can have the category is determined by the area. So are you looking for Black women in Brazil that are in media, or Black women in Brazil who are educators? What is the categorical area of Black women in Brazil that you are looking to highlight? And then on the application, you will select that area or multiple areas, up to 3. And then you can write your narrative, because we know it's going to be content driven. It's not going to be just Black women. It's going to be, what is it that we want to focus on? Does that make it better? Does that make it easier for you to respond?
It does. Thank you so much. I'd like to get 3 group of people. One domestic employee, other legal professionals, and a movement of women judges, to show the challenge that each of them are facing and how they can contribute
But
against
I think you want to look at this section that looks at women in leadership or the institutional mechanisms for women. I think those 2 areas might be what you're looking to focus on.
leadership or women in institutions, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The institutional mechanisms.
Okay.
That's a section in the Beijing Platform for Action. So that might be the other section that you want to focus on.
Great. I was thinking on women and economy because of the impact of racism and gender discrimination in the IGP. But
always.
Yeah.
At the economy, when you're looking at race, economy is always a crucial element.
Everybody lose.
So you have 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And by the way, Rosa Lazard is an expert on economy, on financing for development. So she is someone who you can use as a resource.
Who?
Rosa.
Sorry?
Rosa Lazard.
Rose. Oh, Rosa.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I enjoyed listening to you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I'm actually going to have to step away. I tried to stay as long as I could, and I'm sorry to interrupt right now, but I am going to have to leave.
Brenda,
Yes.
Can you tell them about these registration for the CSW, because they asked about a registration date?
And sorry, also, I don't know if
Can you give them deadlines?
Yeah, it's the 24th of January.
Brenda, I don't know if you're
2025.
able to also address the question about side events. If a CSO wants to have an event inside the UN during CSW, I don't know if you're able to provide a little bit of information before you go.
Sorry, come again. What was the question? If a CSO wants to have an event?
There's a question about having a side event in the UN as a civil society organization during CSW.
During CSW. Well, let's see. I think there should be some information on side events organizing. Who was asking that question? Because I can also separately send some information, but I think it was mentioned earlier that it would have to be something that you do with a member state, because it is an official, the CSW is member driven, like I was saying. And so you would have to partner with a member state in order to do that. But the exact examples as instructions on where to go, I would have to send that to you.
We can also get the individual's contact information. And
yeah, please do that, and then I can send that. I can send that to them. Or there's also on our website the CSW@unwomen.org for any inquiries. So you can also send something to that. But please do send that to me, and I will try and get specific information back to them.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for joining us today, Brenda.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
And there was Sanya's question. Let's see if I've got this right, about how to organize a coalition for putting on a parallel event, or how to make it fit together.
Yes, the question was more like, we have member states, we have CSOs, we have an international organization. So how do we put it in the mold of either CSO or member state?
Well, there are times that I've done both, actually. So you certainly would be welcome to put in a parallel event application with us. And then if the member state is willing to take the leadership on the side event, they could also do one on site.
Yeah, usually I would recommend you try the side event option first, because it seems like it's so competitive. You know, most member states, they only have one event, right? And usually if they have a minister who really is passionate about CSW, they may want their own event and not consider an NGO event at all. So it really, and then, yeah, it's just so limited. So I would try, but then at the same time, have a parallel event in, so you don't miss a slot, you know, but that's also a chance, right? Like a risk either way, because the side events, you don't know until what, January or something, what the rooms are, or December, so.
All right. We are past our time. Elena, did you have a burning question? Do you want to be our last question?
Yes, I'd love to. It's very quick, actually. We've been assigned an in-person slot for a parallel event, and we were wondering if we have to do something else, as in registering in the portal. But I've heard that this is going to be done by late December, if I'm correct. And I was wondering also, somebody commented something about a deadline to place ads, right, on February 26th. And if you could explain a little bit more on what does this entail, please?
Yeah, the handbook ad applications have not been launched yet. They will be launched annually. We have a handbook where we list all of the information about the NGO CSW Forum. We have letters from UN Women. We have letters from the co-chairs. It's a guidebook. So we do give NGOs the opportunity to put ads to advertise in the handbook, but that has not been launched yet. It should be launched very soon. And you will see it in the newsletter once it's launched, and you'll have the opportunity to purchase ads. You can also purchase an exhibit booth. That information will be on our website next week. And an exhibit booth is a virtual booth where your organization will be able to provide networking opportunities. You can screen films. You can have a virtual convening in your exhibit booth. So that's a very, very popular option.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. We've reached the end of our time together. Pam and Ivy, would you like to give a farewell? Certainly, I'll say thank you to everyone that's helped organize this. I'd also like to make a shout out for an upcoming in-person event sponsored by NGO CSW and John Jay College of Criminal Justice. It'll be live streamed and it's on November 22nd. You would have heard about it in the newsletter. And Ivy and Pam?
Well, thank you everyone for joining and for all the people who have been around for a while for joining the open forum and your inputs throughout. Yeah, and all the good questions too. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to give my appreciation to Rosemary and Lily and to Jillian, who is not here, but I know that she has had input too. Thank you all for coming, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.